Hi there everybody and welcome back to another video right here on the Toon Review YouTube channel. My name's Paul, thank you very much for tuning in. As usual, if you do enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you are new and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, free to do so, and make sure that you hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show in the future. So thank you very much for all that. Now, what I want to talk about today, guys, is simply there in the header, should Masters go? I'm asking the question today, should Richard Masters resign from CEO of the Premier League? And in my opinion, yes, and I think this goes across the board with a lot of football fans, not just from Newcastle United, but from football fans in general, because this man has completely ruined football as we know it for the normal fan, shall we say. Now, he took over in December 2019 after a bit of a disastrous run from Richard Scudamore. It took them a long time, around about a year, to appoint Masters after Scudamore. And Richard Masters came in promising this, promising that things were going to be different in the Premier League. And English football now, for me, is in the news for particularly all the wrong reasons. Court cases, disciplinary action against football clubs, points deductions. It's not in a great state right now. And Richard Masters has to take a very, very close look in the mirror and think to himself, am I doing what I possibly can for the Premier League, or is it all about money? Because what I've found, and I've done some digging this morning and seen some scandalous reports about, the stuff that's not just gone on with Newcastle United, but with the Premier League in general as well. The disciplinary processes are a mess. The FFP, all the PSR situation, that's a mess. The court case with Manchester City that Man City have won, that's the Premier League in a mess again. He's now called an emergency meeting for next week to try and once again put this kind of blockade up against teams like Newcastle and Manchester City from bringing in bigger sponsorship deals. Now, I'm under no illusion that Newcastle United right now will probably be trying to bring in a lot of sponsorship deals very, very quickly before the Premier League meets again, because I'm in no doubt or disillusionment that the Premier League will try and create another rule to stop Newcastle United growing. Now, all the emails, etc., that have come out in this court case clearly prove that Richard Masters and his cartel buddies were trying to do everything possible to stop Newcastle United becoming a powerhouse in English football. We've seen the emails, we've seen all the documentation now. We don't need to go over that again. But what we do need to talk about is if this man is capable of taking the Premier League forward, because he's clearly not. And anybody that's had the amount of scandal that this man has had since being in charge wouldn't stand a chance in any other company. Now, the Super League. Let's talk about the Super League. When that came around, Richard Masters shit himself. Right? There's no doubt about it. Richard Masters absolutely shit himself. He was looking at 4 or 5 of the big teams in the Premier League disappearing off to play in a European Super League. Where would that then leave English football? God knows. And it wasn't him that stopped it. So anybody that comes out and says, oh, Richard Masters, he was against the Super League, he was against this, he was against that. He didn't stop it. Because the people that stopped the Super League happening were the fans. And may I add, the fans of the clubs involved. They were vocal. They did not want the Super League. They did not want their club breaking away to the Super League. And credit to those fans, because the greedy bastards at the top of each of those football clubs, and of course the Premier League, they were in liaison with it. Let's not beat around the bush. They're just protecting who they need to protect in this day and age. And Richard Masters now, I don't know what was said, but clearly Richard Masters has promised this and this to certain teams that play in red or certain teams that play in London. All of these cartel clubs that were wanting to break away to the Premier League were obviously promised something. And, since that Super League issue, we've seen very favourable rules going in favour of these teams. Because not one person can sit here and tell me that the PSR and the FFP were put in place to help lower down teams, to stop them going bankrupt or stop them going out of business or whatever it may be. It's bollocks. And we've seen that over several years now, that it's there for one thing only, to keep the top clubs at the very top. and not allow any other clubs to try and move away from that Cartel 5 or whatever it is, because I'm not including Manchester City in this. We've seen who the real culprits are in all of this, undoubtedly, and it's to protect them. And this has always been the case since Richard Masters has been in charge. But let's take a look at the Newcastle United takeover, shall we? Because this was an absolute farce. The amount of time that it took the takeover to go through, but Newcastle United, and especially the fans, right? They put in, can you remember when they went to the Premier League and they handed documents to the Premier League and all of that kind of stuff? Richard Masters, where was Richard Masters in all of this, being vocal or telling the Newcastle United fans what the delay was or what was going on? He hid away like the snake that he is. He didn't face the fans, he hid away. And then when he did speak, he spoke through the media and said what he needed to say. Nothing about what Newcastle fans were feeling or the club themselves. The takeover was an absolute joke, the amount of time it took to go through. And we as Newcastle United fans, we already know that, right? Yeah, no problem. We already know how long that was and what the Premier League were trying to do. And Richard Masters, instead of actually, getting some bollocks and standing up properly and ignoring all the, little devils that are sitting on his shoulder, like Daniel Levy, etc., couldn't make a decision on his own. He was being dictated to by Premier League owners. Simple as that. Dictated to by the cartel owners who thought, oh my God, Newcastle United could become the richest club in the world or have the richest owners in the world. And that'll shred apart the Cartel 5. We won't be able to stay at the top of the league anymore because Newcastle United, Manchester City, etc., they will be the powerhouses and we will just disappear into the sunset. And they couldn't hack that. I just think that the whole takeover issue was a disgrace. And he got away with it. He got away with it and he keeps getting away with it all the time. Since he's took over, football now has become just a money-making express machine in this country to the point where we as the fans are completely forgotten about every time a decision is made. Every single time. You look at the fixtures in the Premier League, when they make the fixtures up, we've suffered a lot with this, by the way, going to London on a Monday night or a Tuesday night. Or a ridiculous early kick-off time at Arsenal on a Saturday lunchtime. But it's not just us that happens to. It's other fans as well. West Ham have got to come to Newcastle United on a Monday night. I mean, there's just no thought for fans anymore. It's all about the big money for Richard Masters. It's all about getting the media in, the TV rights, everything. Because money is the most important thing to this man and not Newcastle United fans or football fans in general. The complete, manipulation and deceitful handling of the rules and disciplinary action. We keep seeing this on a regular basis. Rules sprung up like little seedlings from nowhere that have never been mentioned before to stop certain football clubs in their track. And yes, I'm talking about Newcastle United because that's my club. But when you look at the points deductions that Nottingham Forest and Everton had, and then you find out that Manchester United got off, they would have broke PSR rules had it not been for little agreements between the Premier League and Richard Masters and etc. to get them off having any financial penalty. Now, it's right in front of people's eyes, the corruption. It's right there. But this man manages to squirm out of it time after time. And the disciplinary processes that he's got in place are, again, suiting the top clubs and not the clubs for the rest of the Premier League. Just not at all. It's always the big boys. Why haven't Manchester United got that financial penalty? Because they're up in Masters' ear constantly saying, well, we'll do this or we'll do that. And he's frightened. When you're CEO of the Premier League, you have got to have some bollocks about you. And make tough decisions, whether you upset the top clubs or you don't upset the top clubs. You have got to make decisions based on football. Not what the cartel want. But this man is sitting there at the top of the tree at the Premier League. But he ain't the CEO. He's not the CEO by a long way. The CEO is Daniel Levy. or the owners at Manchester United, or whoever you want to get, Liverpool, etc. They're the owners of the Premier League. They're the CEOs. And he's just there to sign their decisions off. And it's been going on for too long now, which is why I'm asking the question, is it time for Richard Masters to resign? Because the more and more time goes on, the more and more crap comes out about what he's been up to. His reign is dictatorial, right? Because he is told from other, these owners of other clubs what to do. And then he sits there at the head of the table and says, right, this is what we're going to do, as if it's his decision when it's not. And everybody knows it's not. It's like a dictator sitting at the top of the table saying, right, these 5 are protected, but the rest of them, we'll get as much money off them as they can. We'll put them in financial difficulties despite what FFP is supposed to do. We'll deduct them points so that these clubs now are threatened with relegation and losing billions for not being in the Premier League. But no, this does not appeal to Richard Masters at all. This is just something that he's done since day one. Is listen in his ear to all the corrupt bastards running the other clubs and trying to get away with it. And now everybody's opening their eyes to it. Absolutely everybody. He doesn't know what football means to the fans. And I've mentioned this earlier on in the video. He has no idea what football means to the fans. Because me as a fan, and I know, not just Newcastle United fans again, but football fans in general, most of the time, it's a family community. All right, I'm not talking about social media and all the crap going on Twitter and trolling, etc. Me growing up, it was a football community. It didn't matter who you supported, but fans were just always a big community. All right. Now Richard Masters doesn't care about fans. That's the last thing he bothers to care about, if at all. Okay? He's just not interested. So we need somebody running this Premier League who accepts some of the fans' ideas, listens to the fans. We are the most important people in football. I don't care what anybody says. Fans are the most important people in football. And that is fact. Because if the fans weren't there, football would be nothing. Yet we have a CEO at the Premier League who decides to listen to none of us. Absolutely none of us, and does what the hell he wants time after time after time and gets away with it. It's just a load of bollocks. We need a leadership team in this Premier League now who will listen to the fans. I'm not saying bring the fans into meetings and things like that, but put surveys out and things like that. Get a general idea of how the fans are feeling. Because the way it's going at the moment, right, without the fans, the Premier League is nothing. Football is nothing. So listen to the fans, and that's what we need. We need people in there who know how important the fans are to football. The prices of football tickets have got outrageous because of the greed of the Premier League for the TV rights, etc., and the greed to make more money. And that maybe comes down to the football clubs as well. They need to take a look at that. But in general, football is just getting priced out for the normal football fan. And we've been talking about that for years now. It's just absolutely staggering. And now the court case has just, it seems to snowball. And Manchester City now winning the court case, and what's going to come from that? He's calling all the Premier League teams together to try and blockade again. And this is just proof. Just proof that the man is a scoundrel. He's a rat. He's not fit for purpose. He is not fit to run the Premier League because he doesn't make any decisions himself. He relies on the cartel clubs whispering in his ear what they want and how they want to run the league, not how Richard Masters sets out to run the league. Because if me or you out there as a football fan was in charge of the Premier League, we would make sure that we'd have a couple of people around us to help with decisions. Of course we would. And then also listen to the fans, because we as fans know how friggin' important we are to football. And Richard Masters doesn't have a Scooby-Doo. And that other numbnuts alongside him, Gary Hoffman, he needs to go as well. He did everything in his power to deny us the takeover. We all know the links with Richard Keys and all that kind of crap when the takeover was on, it was off, it wasn't going to happen. And Hoffman was getting his big fat face stuck in there trying to create problems. He needs to go as well. These two are in cahoots with each other constantly. And there was a there was a news report came out in The Guardian written by David Conn. If you haven't seen that article, go and read. Have a good read of it, because it basically unleashes a whole world of crap and sickening behaviour between Richard Masters and Gary Hoffman. It's incredible. It's really well written. So go and check that out. It's an article by David Conn at The Guardian. And he really is openly honest about the sickening stuff that goes on. Because it's not just the stuff we know about. We also have a feeling that there's stuff going on in the Premier League. You know, when our takeover, you know, why were they so reluctant to release information? Come on, you don't need to be Einstein to work out that the whole Premier League is just not fit for purpose right now. It needs an overhaul. It needs people to come in who understand what football means and what football means to us as fans. But, you know, until something, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how, you know, we get Richard Masters out as fans. You know, I know that online there's the stuff being put together to try and force him out and things like that. But, you know, is there anything else we can do? Football is our game. It's not Richard Masters' game. And, you know, these people, these other clubs who aren't involved in the Premier League, who are maybe coming to the Premier League further down the line, they don't. I mean, yes, they want to be in the Premier League, but what's the point if they come into the Premier League and it's just the Cartel 5? That's all that's thought about, and the rest can go to hell, because that's how the league is being run at the moment. So you know, for me, he's got to go. But let me know. Let me know in the chat. Thank you very much for watching the video. I just thought I'd name a few points and go through some of the stuff that's happened during his reign. But for me, he's got to go. But let me know in the comments below what you think. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, guys. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you're new as well. And have yourself a fantastic day. Take care.